Welcome to another TV 31 on 1. Today we're in front of the municipal building. Why? Because our guest is Norman McNickel. Of course, he is the city manager now. He used to be the emergency management coordinator. He was also the police chief. He's been a lot of things here in Stillwater. And in our conversation with him, we're going to talk to him about the only time his weapon was ever discharged in the line of duty. We talked to him about some of the most gratifying cases that he's ever solved. We talked to him about a lot of things, including what now is his job as city manager. But we wanted to go back to the very beginning, as we always do with our guests. We wanted to talk to him about his upbringing. We wanted to talk to him about his siblings. Wanted to talk to him about a lot of different things and how he even got here to Stillwater. How did he fall in love with law enforcement? Where did that influence come? We talked to him about his dad and being in a burn unit when he was in the military. We talked to him about a lot of things. But we also talked to him about the fact that his mom might have been saved by a cup of coffee in the Murrah building bombing. A lot of great stories. Let's jump right into it. Here's Norman McNickel. Okay, so as I told you, I want to start at the very beginning. All right?
Okay.
Where were you born?
At a very early age. Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Tulsa, Oklahoma, and
Hillcrest Hospital.
Is that right?
That's right.
And parents did what for a living? What kind of household did you grow up in?
I grew up in a dental-related household.
Makes sense now.
Yeah. Well, it's a little different track. My dad, after World War II, went to work as what they called a delivery boy for a company called Reeve Dental Supply.
Uh-huh.
And he worked his way up through the chain, got to be manager, and then eventually owned the company. And the company had outlets in Tulsa, Oklahoma City, Dallas, and San Antonio.
And so, obviously, that already opens up another question. World War II. Was he in the war?
He was.
Wow. What do you know of his time there?
Well, it's interesting because until probably about 10 years ago, he wouldn't talk about it.
Wow.
He was a Navy corpsman, and actually he wanted to be a radio operator, but you could sign up for two things, and he and a friend named Norman went in together. In fact,
named after?
Yes.
Wow.
So they enlisted together. In fact, their little high school in Helena, Oklahoma.
Wow.
Graduated them early so that they could enlist. He enlisted in the Navy, and he signed up for to be a radio operator or a corpsman, and they chose corpsman for him. So he did not serve overseas. He spent his entire hitch in a burn unit in Houston, Texas, and it was pretty brutal.
Burn unit?
Naval burn unit.
So
they treated soldiers that had been badly burned during the war.
I see. So from a medical side of that, wow, absolutely, wow. So as even though he may not have been in active duty from a engagement of war, obviously saw the other side of that.
Well, he did, and he would describe when he would walk onto the ward that people would start screaming because they knew that, at the time, the medical treatment for burns was considerably different than now, and there was a lot of bandage changing, and skin would stick to it. And
wow. So obviously you can explain now. How old is your dad now?
He is 93.
93, wow. And so why do you think he changed being able to or willing to talk about it? You finally old enough to handle it?
I think. I think. We were on our way back. It was spring break. He'd gone to Colorado with me. I think he was in his 80s at the time. We'd gone to Colorado, and he'd helped me on my cabin. And we decided to leave late in the afternoon. It was about 2 o'clock in the morning in the Texas Panhandle when I finally got him to open up about it. So.
Wow. No, that's Dad. What about Mom?
Mom passed about 4 years ago. They were married 67 years.
Wow. What'd she do?
She was a housewife.
Okay.
I don't know if that's politically correct anymore. But she was asswife until my sister and I were out of the house, and then began helping my dad with the business. So they worked together on that, and I about lost her at the Murrah bombing. They had an office in downtown Oklahoma City, and
wow.
She and I have inherited her addiction to coffee. And she had gotten up from her desk to go get another cup of coffee when the bomb went off, and it picked up the roof on that building and turned it a little bit, dropped it, and the heat and air unit from the roof fell on her desk. So
wow.
Zach was there at that time as well. So.
Wow. And we were just talking about fate just a few minutes ago and other things. That's pretty incredible.
It is.
What did she share with you from that memory? I mean, woman of faith.
Oh yeah.
And so certainly felt like
yes.
someone was looking out for her.
She did. Well, and for all three of them.
Yeah.
My dad, my mother, and my eldest son Zach were in the building at the time. So.
Wow.
And ironically, I ended up working an evidence team there. So.
Wow. Were you with Stillwater at the time? Stillwater Police Chief? You were, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah. Had to go back. I mean, that's been a day or two.
It has been a day or two.
So, two things then, obviously, as you growing up, I'm curious about. One, I know you have a great passion for the outdoors.
I do.
You mentioned the cabin. I know you like to get away a little bit. In fact, ironically enough, when you and I visited after the parade tragedy we had here in Stillwater, you were actually on vacation at that time.
I was on my way back. Yeah.
Yeah, and so obviously that was a crazy time. But where did you get that from your dad? Did you guys hunt, fish?
We did, and I had an uncle that not only was an outdoorsman, but he was a career trooper, hence the law enforcement interest. So
then I started to say, so explain that. So you have an uncle who, what did he do?
He was a OHP.
And so
trooper.
That was in the family.
That was in the family.
And when you told Mom and Dad, hey, that looks like a cool thing to do, they said,
seriously?
Well, this show has had lots of revelations to some degree in small tokens. But what did Norman McNickel do before he was involved in law enforcement? There is a revelation coming up, maybe one of the biggest we've ever had on the show. That's next.
To all of our neighbors, friends, the people we see every day, we come to you today with no news or announcement, but to let you know what's on our hearts. Because quite simply, we feel honored. You're the reason that what we do is so much more meaningful than a job. The reason we believe in the power of investing in tomorrow. But you're also the reason we believe in the power of sharing the same neighborhoods and a loyalty that's bigger than any challenge. So this is simply thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to move forward and grow, but never lose sight of the roots that connect us. As we step boldly into a time of change and innovation, consider this our promise that every investment in our hospital is an investment in our communities. Because you're the reason we love what we do and love where we live.
The McCafe is now featuring cold brew coffee and cold brew frappes. Face the day with a cold brew coffee from the McCafe with a rich cold brew coffee blended with ice for a creamy frozen drink that's colder than cold brew. Or refresh with a cold creamy frappe. We start with a cold brew coffee, blended ice, and topped with whipped cream and rich chocolate drizzle for a great anytime frozen treat. McDonald's in Stillwater, Perkins, Perry, and Cushing. I'm loving it. The Hideaway since 1957. The Hideaway is famous for a lot of things, including their off-the-charts fried mushrooms, incredible service, unbeatable lunch specials, and, of course, the one-of-a-kind pizza. Stillwater's pizza tradition begins and ends here, from the big country to the pizza of the gods. And even the sizes are famous, from the mini personal to the big kahuna. Like us on Facebook for unique offers, lunch or dinner, dine-in, pickup, or delivery. The Hideaway, 230 South Mount Block, or call 372-4777. More than a restaurant, it's a tradition. Well, again, a little bit of a revelation going into segment number 2 here with Norman McNickel. But we talk about not only, again, what he did prior to becoming a police officer in Stillwater, and talk a little bit about how he fell in love with law enforcement, but we also talked to him a little bit about what did Mom and Dad think about him wanting to get into law enforcement.
Well, I had kind of a circuitous journey to that, because while I was still in college, because of a relationship with my father-in-law, I started retail oil and gasoline business. Later, well, during that same period of time, got into a partnership with a fellow named Rusty Shaw with a business called Buy and Buy.
Wow!
Did that until
first real revelation on this series right there, on this show. Really?
Really?
Holy smokes.
Yeah, had one at Maine and Connell and Pawnee and East 6th and Billings. Billings, Oklahoma. I-35 and 15.
I'm married to a Billings graduate.
Are you?
Absolutely, one of 11 from the 1993 class.
Henry Bellman used to come into the station up there with 55-gallon drums and top her off with diesel.
Absolutely. Henry Bellman, of course, former governor, was from there. I have an autographed book from his autobiography, and self-admitted horrible farmer.
Well, he used a lot of diesel.
You know, that's interesting. So were you on the oil side of it or on the convenience store side of it, or both?
Both.
Really?
Yeah.
Explain how you got there and how you got out of that.
Well, I had a father-in-law that was CEO of City Service. I don't know if you remember that company.
I remember
or not,
yeah, I do. I don't remember much about it, but I do remember the name.
Yeah, they were based in Tulsa, and he got to talking to me, and I was in the College of Business at the time.
At?
And Oklahoma State
Okay,
University. There's no other place to be.
Well, that's what I thought, but I wanted to make sure. You can't assume anything.
So
when you're talking to perps, you got to make sure you get all the good stuff, right?
That's right. So anyway, throughout that conversation, he said, well, you know, at the time, self-service gasoline stations were really becoming large. He did that for City Service. In fact, he pioneered their, at the time, convenience stores. And he said, you really ought to try this, and you try it while you're in college. So I did. And it was a lot of work. Running your own business or participating in a partnership is not a 8-hour-a-day job.
Especially when Rusty Shaw is your partner.
That's right. Love Rusty to death, but he is full of energy. Good guy. But did that until about 78, and
so how did you get the capital and get going on and get if you're still in college?
Well, I had a letter of guarantee. Honestly, I had a letter of guarantee from my father-in-law.
Wow, wow.
And made more money than you can possibly imagine because the gas shortage. You probably weren't even alive.
It's alive, but not driving yet.
Gas shortage in 72, 73, 74, whatever it was.
Jimmy Carter era.
Yeah, there was this whole thing about allocation of gasoline, and I had a huge one. So I had gas when others didn't, and the price went through the roof, and the margins were really good. And
so you're making a lot of money. You're talking about your father-in-law, so obviously you're starting a family, I guess, at this point, right? Any kids at this point?
No.
No kids, okay. So no kids, but making lots of money, and went, money's not that important.
Yeah, on the road, seriously. I mean, on the road, I think I was responsible for about 7 outlets, and on the road, from 6 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock at night, and generally at least 6 days a week. If somebody called in sick, you know, that kind of thing. I probably was too young to do all that and got pretty burned out. Because life was different back in the 50s. I rode with my uncle during his patrolling of the roads. Had an interest in that. Absolutely remember the coolest car he ever had, which was a 58 Chevrolet with 3 2s. It would really get up and go. And decided, you know, if I'm going to try this before I get too awfully old, and I might regret not ever trying it, I think I'll try this.
You know, I remember Rusty telling me in years past about, I mean, Christmas Eve, Christmas, just another day. Got to be on the road. Got to do those things that you do the rest of the time. And so,
no different in law enforcement.
No day looked any different than the day before necessarily. So, okay, so you're making lots of money. You're in college. So you graduate from college and then decide to get out?
I did.
So making the decision, probably less influence from your parents. But, you know, it's not like you were 17 going, I'm going into law enforcement. They're going, no, you're not. You're right. Older now at this point. But they still said, really?
Oh, yeah.
Concerned? Or just really? You're doing good where you're at. Why are you doing this?
Well, and I don't recall which part of the family. I mean, I really don't. But it was kind of like, oh, my God, you can't make any money at that. And they were right, at least at the beginning. I mean, I went from a sizable check per month down to $425 a month. That's what I started at. So.
Did you save your money prior to?
I did, and allowed me to buy my first home. So.
Wow.
Well, not cash.
Sure, but yeah.
But yeah, you know, things are relative because I can still remember that brand new brick 3-bedroom, 2-bath home was $32 grand.
Yeah. Back when things seemed affordable, of course, at $425 a month, that's maybe still a pricey tag.
Kent and Barbara Houck have been saying they're a one-stop shop for many years. In 1951, the Houck Agency began insuring Oklahomans and since has expanded to insure people in 11 states across the country. The Houck Agency can find the policy that fits your needs from business health coverage, individual health, home, auto, and long-term health care policies. They have a staff that can take care of financial planning, including retirement and investing. And Barbara Houck has been a realtor for over 35 years, and her contacts helped her buy and sell homes and commercial properties across the state. One-stop shop, the Houck Agency, 801 South Main in Stillwater. Call statewide toll-free at 800-543-8588. The Houck Agency, when experience counts. Hi, Casey Kendrick along with Tom Dorado, inviting you to join us for Out of Bounds Weekly, Tom, from guys like Mike Boynton, Jim Littell. We've talked to basketball coaches, football coaches. We talked to softball coaches. Nobody is off the radar on this show.
No, and hopefully they want to come on as much as we want to have them on. We have a good time with it. It gives you an opportunity to get behind their program. They tell you things that you maybe might not see in the newspapers or whatever. And we just have a good time on this show. It's expanded over the years for sure. Not time-wise, but we've expanded the scope. How's that sound? The scope has been expanded.
If you want to see the expanded scope, you can really see it Tuesday mornings at 10 o'clock because Tuesday mornings we do a show called Out of Bounds Raw. And it is nothing but the ugliness of putting a show together.
Oh, the ugliness.
It's a lot of fun seeing that show. Then the edited versions are Tuesday nights at 8 o'clock, Thursday nights at 8 o'clock, and Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. It is Out of Bounds from our Oklahoma Ag Credit Studios, only here on TV 31. Where do you go for computer help? Gigabytes. Gigabyte staff are experts in virus removal, software updates, and faster running computers. Gigabytes also provides small business support and network support, including websites. And they do laptop screen replacements, and they do all kinds of cosmetic repairs as well. Whatever your computer needs, they are the ones that can provide you with the answers and solutions to get you up and running. Gigabytes, 918 South Main, open Monday through Friday, 10 to 6, or call 533-1715.
Charlie's Discount Drug, where we know our customers by name. Charlie's Discount Drug.
Well, when you think about Norman's career, you think about combat, and we're going to talk more about the number of times that he's ever discharged a firearm in the line of duty. You would think combat pay would come with the police department. It didn't initially. First combat pay might have come working for Quick Trip. Here's Norman McNickel.
So, let's go back to your, as a child, a middle class, upper middle class, didn't have, what would have, the fact that you're making money, would your youth have had any influence on that and going, nah, you know what, we've always been provided for and it's always going to be there, we're good? Or was it, they really went, no, what are you doing? You're making monopoly money, what are you doing?
Yeah, probably. I had also worked for, before I went into the gasoline business, I started in high school working for Quick Trip Corporation. And
of course, based out of Tulsa, right?
Yeah, right. And they paid well. I mean, they really did. And depending on which store that you worked, you got combat pay.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember vividly one night when my dad came and woke me up and said, somebody from Quick Trip's on the phone for you. And it was probably the second or third year I worked for him. I got on the phone. They said, get up, get dressed, get to the store at 56th Street North in Cincinnati. This was in Tulsa. So I got up, got dressed, drove over there, which was quite a drive. Police cars everywhere. Channel 2, Channel 6, Channel 8 were all there. Unfortunately, and I vividly remember that the young man that was working the night shift there was 1 month from graduating from TU Law School. His wife was pregnant. Two jerks walked in, shot him in the head, and they got $38 and change.
Wow.
So that may have also influenced my decision somewhere later in life.
Sure.
But that case was not solved for I think about 10 years.
Wow. Eventually got him?
They eventually got him.
So the fact that you're in a business that is, you know, again, it leads to maybe that, or was it the other side going, no, I want to be the guy that catches the guy?
Well, I think it was
more of that.
Yeah, I think so.
So you go to Rusty and you go, Rusty.
Oh man, yeah.
I think I
Have you lost your mind? No, he was. I think he was shocked, but.
Were you even partners in this deal?
Well, heck no. Rusty had a majority interest in it. Are you kidding? No, I think he was shocked to a degree, but very gracious about it, and very gracious about dissolving the partnership. So,
you know, somewhere many years later, Jim Griffith is still thanking you.
Yeah.
Just a little sidebar there.
From opening day to Green Eggs and Ham, March is packed full of events worth flying in for.
Catch the next direct flight to America's friendliest college town.
Whether you're cheering on competitors or competing in the Mid-South,
there's no better way to celebrate than with a drink from Iron Monk.
There's no better way to spend St. Patrick's Day than at Eskimo Joe's with green eggs and ham, breakfast cheese fries, and more. Plus, we've got green beer all day.
You may not want them in a box or with a fox, but you'll love them at Eskimo Joe's. It's opening day for O'Brate Stadium. Discover the new home for Cowboy baseball during their conference opener.
Spend spring break with your family this year at the Oklahoma Wondatorium.
Discover and learn with over 15 stations to let your imagination run wild.
Everything you need for your remodeling, redecorating, landscaping, or building project all under one roof.
Visit the 31st Annual Home and Garden Show from the Payne County Expo Center.
Don't miss a beat at America's friendliest college town.
For a full listing of events, check out visitstillwater.org.
To our neighbors and friends, we come to you today to let you know what's on our hearts. Because you're the reason what we do is so much more meaningful than a job. The reason we believe in the power of investing in tomorrow and the power of community. So this is simply thank you. As we step boldly into a time of growth and change, consider this our promise that every investment in our hospital is an investment in our communities.
If you haven't been to TS Fork at White Barn Estates lately, we have an exciting new concept to tell you about. It's called Thirsty Thursdays, and it includes 4 courses of the same high-quality food as our other nights, and some of the best mixed drinks you've ever had. Best of all, no reservations are required. And while you're there, relax with a drink on our covered patio and check out the gift shop with Made in Oklahoma products. Go to tsfork.com for more details and to check out our upcoming special menus.
Well, we've talked to Norman about growing up in Tulsa, talked to him a lot about his time here in Stillwater, early time, and some of the things he did prior to getting into law enforcement. But how old was he when he got into law enforcement? What were some of the things that gave him a little bit of an opportunity to understand what he was really getting into? And commuting back and forth between here and Tulsa. Once again, let's check in with Norman McNickel.
Yeah.
Okay, so how old are you when you go, okay, yeah, if I'm going to do this, I got to give the law enforcement thing a try. How old were you?
I was the ripe old age of 24.
So you went to school at Oklahoma State, but you talk about the years you spent at Quick Trip plus the years you spent here. Is all of this, I mean, you must be burning up the road between Tulsa and Stillwater.
I was.
Were you living in Stillwater?
Yes.
Going to school?
Yes.
And then driving back and forth? Wow. Yes. Interesting. Interesting. So that's how we get...
Oh, okay. Well, let's back up a little bit. Quick Trip was summers and holidays.
Okay.
And breaks.
Okay. Right.
Because they needed people to do what they call vacation relief. So it wasn't... it was full-time in the summers.
Right, right.
But
so you're 24.
Right.
Now you're going to become a cadet. Got to go to the academy.
I did.
And how do you even decide to do that? Where do you go? Where do you start? Who do you call? I guess you call your brother first, or your uncle rather, to begin, right?
Yeah, but I knew I knew OHP wasn't for me. Their mission has changed a great deal since those days, but they were at the time pretty much chasing taillights.
Okay.
And that means no offense to my uncle. He went on to be a DA's investigator after he retired from the patrol with Washington and Nowata counties. No way intended to be offensive, but a little different variety of municipal policing.
So where did you start?
Here.
And who did you start? Well, you just found out where the academy was, or went to City Hall and said, "How do I do this?"
I went to see. Actually, I had a friend that was on the force, and talked to him about it. He took me down to see Hillary Driggs, who at the time was chief of police. And talked to him a while, filled out an application. He said, "You're hired." There you go.
How many were on the force at the time?
I think I was the 32nd person hired.
Is that right? Wow. So did you have to go through some kind of academy?
I did, in Oklahoma City.
Okay.
Cleat Academy at the Robert Lester Training Center in Oklahoma City.
And were you hooked from day one?
Yes.
He said.
Yes, I was.
Nervously. Because?
Well, first of all, I spent about a week with some familiarization stuff and riding with a sergeant here, and it was a couple of 3 months or maybe more before I actually went to the academy. I was actually on the street before I went to the academy, so I had some quick hurry-up training here and then sent down there. We do it a lot different now, but I mean, our folks today wouldn't hit the streets probably for 18 months.
Wow.
I was on the streets in 2 weeks. So,
wow.
Yeah. That ought to scare you.
All right, well, that wraps up the first episode with Norman McNickel. But next week, we talk about a lot of things. First off, starting a family and getting into law enforcement. Was that ever a concern for him? Also, when you get into the academy and you become a police officer, were you ever thinking about becoming the police chief? And we talk about and get a chance to see some video of a little bit of gunfire and a little bit of an exchange. All of that and much more still to come with Norman McNickel next week on TV 31 on 1.